Hey y'all, welcome to Live in the Wellness Garden. Super stoked because we got some new microphones and we are using them for the first time, so hopefully this results in a significant improvement in sound quality. Really stoked to use these. And today we're going to be talking about harvesting herbs. You can try to connect the other one if you want, Nelly. You should just be able to hold it down and I'll tell you if it's connected. But yeah, so we're going to harvest herbs today. And before we do that, let's do a quick garden walkthrough. So we are starting to transition this bed over. We are mostly going to be doing leafy greens in this bed since it's pretty shady. Not much else we can do at this point. 1 second. Alright, let's clip this back on. It's a bit of a process with this new microphone. Yeah, it says both of them are connected, so that's cool. Hopefully we don't get too much feedback. Yeah, so yeah, we're starting to turn over this bed. I'm thinking we're going to be doing like chard and lettuce, that kind of stuff. The more sun-loving stuff did not do that well here this year, so I just don't think we get enough sun for those things. Other than that, we're excited to turn over our research plots. That is going to be happening soon. We have our seedlings going. Sugarcane harvest time is coming up, I would say November. That's really exciting. We've also got ginger harvest coming up right here. We are going to be harvesting turmeric right here. And achira perhaps as well. We really do need to break up this mat because it's just gotten massive. It's taking up like so much space, but we're not getting a lot of new growth out of it, so we're probably going to replant the achira. I do want to try a fall planting of it because it does grow a little bit through the winter here. Blueberries have been bouncing back. They look really good. We even have some roselle growing here with the mint. It was lagging for the longest time, but as soon as we got some good heat, it just sort of like took off a bit. And then we have this new bed right here, which is buckwheat and lettuce, where we cut down the sunchokes. They don't really look like they're coming back much, so we might just harvest them and then get our broccoli and fava beans in. So we'll do that. We have rustic arugulas coming up. You can see right there. Love growing arugula. I am so stoked for it. Trying to germinate some greens here. I don't see any. I'm not sure where they are. Just salad greens, like lettuce and such. And then walking stick kale cuttings. We took walking stick kale cuttings. We have a ton of them now, so I want to see if they'll grow. I'll give you guys an update on the liquid fertilizer bucket as well before we get into harvesting some herbs. So we can see everything is really starting to break down. We might even need to feed it again soon. But I'd say we should probably reserve it and use it. Because we have a lot of extra liquid on there. So we'll probably feed it after we use it again. But it's looking really good. And the great thing about this kind of fertilizer is that it just gets better over time. As the material starts to break down, it'll get more nutritious for your plants over time, which is super cool. So yeah, looking good. All that comfrey in there is basically turned to muck. And we're probably going to give it some pigeon pea and tithonia next. So yeah, that's our liquid fertilizer. We're actually going to be starting a couple other buckets. We're going to be doing at least one more. And that one is going to be a phosphorus fertilizer bucket. So we're going to add soft rock phosphate to it at first, and also some chicken bones. And we'll be adding bones on a continuous basis to it, and that's a really good source of phosphorus. So we just happen to have soft rock phosphate lying around, so we'll start the phosphorus fertilizer with that, and then from there we will add animal bones, which are totally renewable. Okay, let's get to harvesting some herbs. So couple things you want to know about harvesting herbs. You're going to want to have clean hands, and you're going to want to have clean tools. So I'll show you guys what I like to do to clean my hands and clean my tools. Very simple. Easiest thing in the world. Alright? So, hand sanitizer. That's it. Hand sanitizer works for our hands and it works for our tools. So I'll give my hands a nice cleaning. It's even better if you use soap, of course. We're just out of soap, and this is for demonstration purposes. So I like to use these for harvesting herbs. Little precision shears right here. And as some of them will probably be cutting back to the lemon balm needs to be cut back. It's kind of unhappy. And so when something's unhappy, you can cut it back and it'll usually come back nicely. When it comes to perennials, at least, especially like herbs and such. So, yeah, then we have a basket, because we need something to put our bounty in. And I think we'll start off with the mint. So you can harvest mint pretty much anytime mint grows. And you can see we got our mint right here. I'm going to go ahead and lower the camera and probably need to tighten the... You mind starting to clear off the table, Anneli? So I think we should get in a little bit closer so I can show you guys where I'm making the cuts, because this part is a little bit important. Get in nice and close so you guys can see what I'm doing. Because you want to make sure you're cutting your herbs in the right spot so that you don't damage them. And that you're cutting them in the right way. It is especially important to use clean, sharp tools. Alright. So I'm going to get as close as we can. You can see this mint has gone to flower a while ago. And since it's gone to flower, we can actually cut it back pretty hard. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll take it and I'll cut it almost to the ground. In between, like this is where you would cut it, right? In between the nodes, right in the center. And this end right here on the other side will callus, heal over, and then new growth will come out. So, and this is our peppermint. Obviously we don't really want this stem right here. So what do we do with the stem? We feed it back to the bed. If there's any part of the plant you're harvesting that you don't need, just feed it back to the bed. As long as it's not diseased, you know, like if it has insects on it, like scale, this has scale on it, that's one thing. But, you know, it's not a big deal. But if you have like some kind of disease, then I would use the trimmings somewhere else. You could probably put them into your JLF, in fact. Your Jadam liquid fertilizer, which we talked about last week. If you're interested in learning about how to make your own fertilizer, go see last week's video. So yeah, we'll just cut close to the ground since it's flowering. You know, if it's flowering, you want to cut it back a little bit harder than you would otherwise. And that'll encourage it to put on lots of nice vegetative growth. And so an easy way to strip the stems is just like that. I'll put that in our basket. Now, I'm not going to harvest all of it today because we might need some for some of our projects. But we can harvest this and donate it to the food pantry today for sure. I'll also demonstrate how to prepare herbs for drying, which is a fun process. And Nellie, the limes are ready. Would you mind starting to get some limes? The ones that are yellow are ready. We're going to donate to the food pantry. Yeah, important thing about mint is that you need to give it shade. This mint needs way more shade than it's getting. I tried to plant pigeon peas in these beds, but unfortunately they failed. I don't know why. It seems like I was having some issues with seed predators, because some of the pigeon peas I planted in these small beds have been successful and others have not. So you definitely, in our climate, want to have like some kind of overstory for mint. And you'll be able to see that the mint that we have underneath our fruit trees that we just planted is doing way better than these more established mint plants that are growing in these small raised beds. Small raised beds will cook in the summer. Oh, we're back? Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Looks like my phone overheated already. So I got some more mint. We're gonna stay in the shade for a while and allow my phone to cool off. It's not even hot out. I mean, it just seems like IG Live causes my phone to heat up like crazy. I need to get like some kind of cooling device for my phone. Yeah, so we got a bunch more of this peppermint right here. I'm gonna clean these off. And you could just pluck them off. And the refuse will feed back to the mint. But yeah, it's important to have shade when you're growing mints in our climate. It is a sun-loving plant if you live in a mild climate. And this is one thing that you have to keep in mind. If a plant says full sun when you're buying it, when you're buying seeds or you're buying like nursery starts, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to want full sun in every situation. Mint's happy in full sun here until about July. Then it starts to get sad. So you just have to keep in mind that, you know, the requirements of a plant may differ depending on the climate that you're growing it in. And when it comes to mint, give it shade. 100% give it shade. So you already know how to harvest mint. Anelli, why don't you get a little bit more of the mint from these beds? That way I can demonstrate more how to clean and bundle it up. And then we'll sort of like keep our demonstrations short of how to harvest it short, and then we'll mostly show how to process it, I think. And that'll save us the issues that we're having with overheating of the phone. And all the stuff that you don't want, feed it back to your mint bed. And see, like stuff like this that has issues with like spider mites, for example, that's what this is. By the way, spider mites are caused by hot, dry conditions. So that's a sign that this mint is in too much sun. Let's go and look at the other mint and see how it's doing. The other mint that we have growing underneath the fruit trees is chocolate mint, which is very similar in its growth habit and requirements to peppermint, and let's see how that's doing in almost full shade. Not quite, probably about 60% shade. Look at that. That is some of the most beautiful mint I've ever seen. No pest problems whatsoever. It is so incredibly happy, and it's getting watered less than the other mint. It's getting watered less. That's partially because it's in the ground, but it's also because it's growing in the shade. And this is some amazing mint. Oh yeah, that smells so good. This actually might be peppermint here, because I think we planted some peppermint and some chocolate mint here, and some mojito mint and some spearmint. Let's get it from the peppermint. We can keep doing some peppermint. So yeah, I just want to show you guys that and how important it is to understand your microclimate, and given your microclimate, what plants will do best in what situation. And when it comes to mint, plant it in part shade here. So yeah, it's not a big deal if you have spider mite damage. People are afraid of insect damage on their plants, but you shouldn't be. Or like mite damage or what have you. But I'm going to inspect these to see if there's any that are particularly in bad shape, or if there are any that have like bird poop, because you definitely don't want that. But other than that, it's fine. So alright, so this mint is good then, and Ellie's going to bring more. So what else you're going to want to do is you're going to want to soak it. Oh yeah, this stuff is better. It's in less sun, and it's more protected, so it's doing better. I'm just inspecting it for mainly bird poop and like significant amounts of damage. And that stuff looks pretty good. You can see the difference between these two mints. Same plant, slightly different situations, right? Probably hard to see in the shade. Let me see if I can demonstrate more by putting these in the sun. My camera does not seem to want to focus. Okay, will it focus? The autofocus feature on phones is just incredibly whack. So we can see smaller leaves on this plant that's growing in more sun and more signs of stress compared to the plant that is growing in a little bit of a more sheltered position, getting a little bit more afternoon shade from taller plants and containers around it. It does make a difference. It really does. So yeah, so we're gonna need to process these then. And the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is soak them in water. The reason why you soak them in water is to get the bugs off. Could you get like one of the totes, please?
Sure.
So while we're at it, we also have lemon verbena right here, and we're going to harvest this too. So lemon verbena can get to be quite a large and unruly plant. And so we're going to take a little right now because I know they're going to want some for their tea projects. What we're going to do, because we're going to do more of a harvest, is we're going to take it back here we're going to just like sort of head off these stems a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll just again grab a fistful, then pluck it back, and that'll separate the shoots that you're interested in from the stem, like so. And then you have this, and that goes back into the bed. Yeah, unfortunately, this situation with the phone overheating is definitely not ideal. I'm gonna go and adjust the camera. At least our sound is working better, right? Yeah, so I'll demo how to harvest lemon verbena, and you guys should be able to hear me better because of the new wireless microphones. So that one's pretty good. This one's kind of sprawling over. We're going to want to target ones that are kind of sprawling over. And what I might do is I might just like make a big heading cut right here. And take this entire shoot off like so. And then again, we're going to process it like how I showed you. So we'll split them apart, then we'll grab a fistful and pull it back. And pull it back, just like that. Yeah, let's put some water and make sure the tub is clean, please.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we still have Dr. Bronner's left. It's fine for right now, but we're getting more. Yeah, so if you're washing any of your tools in the garden, I like to use unscented Castile soap. So Dr. Bronner's baby formula works good. These are no good. Dr. Bronner's baby formula works well. The baby soap. I use that for washing everything in the garden. You can also use hydrogen peroxide. It is an environmentally safe disinfectant because it breaks down into water and oxygen. But it's very dangerous though if mishandled, so be careful with it. Okay, so let's see. Now we've got this other stem that is sprawling over it, and we're going to take this back pretty hard in the fall. But for now we'll just take a little bit of lemon verbena just for demonstration purposes. And again, give it a nice little pluck. Lemon verbena makes an amazing tea. It's a very tough plant too. Very vigorous plant. And I wanted to note really quick that you can have some understory plants for lemon verbena too, even though it's a pretty vigorous and sprawling plant. We're growing this as an understory right here. This is Acmespawn americanus, also known as Spanish lotus or American bird's foot trefoil. And it is a native legume that is actually quite common around here. It's an annual, but it seems to be kind of like perennializing in here. We're letting it self-seed in this bed. We also grow yarrow in the understory. So these native plants are both fertilizing the lemon verbena. Sort of like native cover crops. And yeah, so that's our lemon verbena. And since this shoot is pretty long, I'm just going to give this a little trim. I'm going to break it up into a few. And so this one as well. By the way, when it comes to herbs and the active compounds in them, they are most concentrated typically at the shoot tips. So like right there. So we're just going to, I'd fill this up a bit more. Yeah. But we'll give them a soaking in here. And so I don't want to make any medical recommendations. The information I give you about how we and I use these herbs is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. However, if my stomach is upset, I find that lemon verbena and mint can both help with that. Mint might help you if you're having allergy issues too. So we're going to fill this up a bit more. We want to try and keep these herbs in groups. And if you really want to do that, then you can bundle them. We actually have some string that I brought to bundle them. I'm not sure what became of it, but I thought I brought it out here. So we'll try and keep them separate. I'm not going to bundle them just yet because we're going to be doing smaller bundles. But we'll just give them a nice soak. Just give them a soak for like maybe a minute. And that'll just get all the bugs off. No need to use soap or anything like that. And also, we don't spray any pesticides whatsoever here. So, everything that we eat here, that we grow here, you know, you can eat without being worried about being poisoned. So, that's probably okay. Lemon verbena is done. We'll probably want to change out the water in a moment. So I think that's all the lemon verbena we're going to need to harvest today. We'll donate this to the food pantry. But I do want to demonstrate how you would bundle herbs for drying. What happened to my... There it is, it fell. Okay. Of course it did. I've air dried herbs before. It's very easy. And you can either have like a drying rack, or you can actually hang them up and dry them. I've used both methods. I find they both work well. Kind of wish this umbrella wasn't red because it makes everything on the camera look red. Oh, we don't want more sun. Oh, I see what you're saying, like right here. Yeah, so we can, yeah, why don't you feed this back to the mint beds? So, yeah, I'm going to adjust then. And let's move this out of the way so we're not in the shade. So yeah, when it comes to bundling herbs, I like to use this hemp yarn right here because it's biodegradable. Or you can use hemp or jute or flax or whatever you can find. So the main thing we're going to want to do is ensure that all of our stems are roughly the same length. So we're going to begin bundling them up. And remember, you know, we're going to see how we cut them and trim them. And all of this leftover material is once again going to be fertilizer for the plants we took them from. Because what better thing to fertilize a plant with than itself? I do think when we cut back the lemon verbena, we should put azomite. Okay, so that's a pretty nice bundle. You don't want them much larger than this. Then what you're going to do, give it a cut, get them all the same length. And all of this is not very good quality and can go back to the bed. Then I'm going to take the, of course it fell again. Everything loves to fall on this table because we're on a slight incline. Anything that's like round will fall. So then we're going to begin wrapping the string around the base. Feed it through. 1 knot. 2 knots. Alright. And so, let's pretend, for the sake of demonstration, that we're going to hang it from this umbrella. So can you point the camera up? Mm-hmm. So, we're going to figure out how high we want to hang it from. about right there, and we're going to leave a little bit of slack on the other end so that we can tie it. And I've done this before in my garage. Just hang the herbs up, upside down like so. And when you do this, very slowly, or over time rather, a lot of the active ingredients that you want to have in your herbal, in your dried herbs are going to concentrate in the leaves and towards the shoot tips. And so this actually, when you dry it this way, you get, like people say, you get a better product. I am no herbalist. This is just what I've read. So we'll tie that up. There we go. Leave that for several days to maybe a week, depending on the temperature and humidity. It'll be dry. Then you can strip off all of the leaves, and then if you want to powderize it, literally just put it in a blender, and then you have tea. And it'll have a shelf life of like a year or two. And that's it. That's how you tie up herbs. So we're going to donate these to the food pantry. So I'll just cut this down, and we'll make some bundles then. And since we're donating these, I'm going to just try and keep the size of the bundles consistent. The size itself does not matter. So we'll just keep, yeah, that's okay, that's okay. And this time I'm just going to, and I'll just have you weigh these after we're done. And then I'll show you guys the other method you could use. Honestly, we probably don't need to donate these to the food pantry. I'm not sure if they accept herbs. I'll ask them for next time though, because we have plenty. So we can take these home. I think I still have lemon verbena tea from here at my house, but it doesn't hurt to have more. So yeah, I'll just do a double knot, and like that's fine. So I'll show you guys the other method now. That first we're going to bundle up the mint. And then we'll go on to harvesting rosemary, lavender, and lemongrass, I believe it was. And you can use herbs fresh too. Just like masticate them, that is like tear them up and crush them. Strip off the leaves, tear them up and crush them, and then put them in hot water, and it makes tea, fresh tea. It's very easy to use to make herbs into tea. There's literally no reason to go out and buy tea bags if you have any space to garden. You can have tea, free tea every single day. You don't even have to worry about drying it. But drying it is more for like long-term storage. And some people say it's more potent when you dry it, but I like them fresh too. I like fresh herbs. The flavor is going to be a bit different if you dry it though. I'm just going to make sure that all of our stems are in the proper order. I mean, it doesn't matter that much. This is for demonstration purposes. It's not like we're producing herbs to dry. This thing wants to roll off again. I'm going to try and set it up like that. So I just bundle them up. Very easy. And makes a great gift. That's for sure. I'll definitely be giving these out at my housewarming party. And there is nothing more fragrant and delicious than homegrown herbs.
Very true.
So we'll demonstrate how to harvest the other herbs in a moment that we're going to be talking about. The only one that's really different from these ones that much is lemongrass. Most herbs you harvest in the same way. I think we should also do oregano. We should show how to use oregano. I don't think we're going to harvest any today, but we'll show how to we'll demonstrate like how you would harvest it. We're not going to take a bunch like this. So yeah, here's the other method now. So what you could also do is you can strip the leaves. So I'll strip them like that. I'll usually pinch off the tip and then strip the other leaves down. Pinch off tip. strip by the leaves down. Because since the tip is just too hard to strip off and there's no need, the stems at the tip are just like are so succulent and are effectively like leaf tissue.
It smells so good.
Oh yeah, lemon verbena. I think it smells like lemon pledge.
Huh.
It smells good. It's a very soothing tea. Another great tea for soothing your stomach is lemon balm. But our lemon balm is sad right now because it's again not getting enough shade. A lot of those low-growing herbs in the mint family like their shade. If it's hot out, it's a hot climate. This is why you don't trust everything you hear. You read on the seed packet. You kind of have to like adapt that information to your situation. So we're getting these loose leaves now. And the good thing about doing it this way is it's easier to process and strip the leaves while they're wet than they are dry. You can use the same method to strip dried leaves off of a stem, or you could literally just crush them off of the stem. But you don't want any stem in your final product. It's all woody and doesn't really contribute much to the benefits of the tea. All the good stuff that you want is pretty much in the leaves. But yeah, this is how I would prepare dried herbs for home use. Obviously, if you're in a kitchen situation, you will need to follow extra food safety procedures, but for home use, this is fine. If you know where it's coming from and your gardening practices are safe, and you know there's not any issues with like contamination, biological contamination or chemical contamination, then it's fine to process herbs like this for home use. I've never gotten sick from consuming herbs that I've grown at my house and processed this way. But that doesn't mean you should be reckless. You know, again, if there's bird poop on it, don't eat it. Just common sense. But usually when we harvest herbs for the kitchen, they have their own procedure they go through for washing and drying it, so. So yeah. Now that you have all these loose leaves, we're gonna head over here now to our shed. So here's a neat little gadget for drying herbs. You know, again, this is for demonstration purpose. You know, I would wash this thing right now, but you know, this is a collapsible drying rack. And I would not hang it in an indoor space. I would hang it outdoors in full shade. Because what happens is if you expose the leaf tissue in an herb to sunlight, it's going to degrade a lot of those active phytochemicals that give us the health benefits when consuming the tea. So we want to make sure that we dry it in full shade, but airflow is also important. We don't get enough airflow in here. You want shade and airflow. So because we dry our herbs in stagnant air when it's in here, we don't really get a good product. But you know, this is how you do it. Just like put the leaves in and spread them out and wait until they're dry. Then you can take them out and then they're ready and zip it up. So that's another very easy way to harvest herbs. Let's talk about rosemary and lavender now. I just want to demonstrate how to harvest these because the processing and drying procedures for rosemary and lavender are the exact same as they are for mint and lemon verbena. But you know, we'll look at some other Mediterranean herbs and we'll see what differences there are in those methodologies.
I can hold it.
What's that?
I can hold it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for lavender, what you're going to want to do, and this, you're going to want to use proper horticultural techniques in general when you're harvesting herbs. So what I like to do is I'll take a flower stalk and I'll take it back to like a healthy growth node. So you could go like that. You can harvest individual ones. For once, this lavender smells really good. I love growing lavender tea. Is very calming and soothing. It's a extremely wonderful tea. I actually might make some out of this. I kind of feel like I want to do that since I don't have my mugwort right now. So that's how you do lavender, just like that. And rosemary is the exact same. Just like grab a couple stalks. We're going to try and get ones that are encroaching on the pathway a little bit. And there's some spittle bugs on here, so avoid those. And with rosemary, I find it's, since you have like really long stems, just take like individual stems of a consistent length. Oh, it smells so good. Love rosemary. Big fan of Mediterranean herbs. Best smelling herbs. And native plants also count as Mediterranean herbs. I mean, for lack of a better term, you know, Mediterranean climate herbs. We'll talk a bit more about native herbs when we do the garden tour. So another one, we'll start going around. After we do the lemongrass, we'll talk about how to harvest different herbs in our garden. So let's go in the shade right here. This is our lemongrass. So we have the lemongrass growing with an understory of yarrow, clover, and lemon balm. See, some of the lemon balm that's in the shady spot back here is doing okay, but the rest of it looks gross. We're just gonna cut this back. Oh yeah, and by the way, one thing I should demonstrate, like with any herb that's like a dicot, that is, it is not like a grass. It's a, you know, non-grass or like palm or like whatever flowering plant. Or what you can do, if you just want to make some tea, check this out, zoom in. Just pinch off the tip. And so if I were gonna make this into tea, I would kind of bundle it up, then like crush it like that, put it in my tea brewer or whatever, just masticate it like that, and then pour hot water over it and let it sit for a couple minutes. That's tea. Lemon balm smells very good.
It does.
So let's talk about lemongrass. I need to get a shovel. So yes, being that it's a grass, you harvest lemongrass a bit differently than you would other herbs. Very similar to how you would harvest banana pups, actually. So, oh, hey, little guy, little jumping spider in there. Always love seeing them around. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to grab a couple of these stalks, and we're going to jam our shovel in there. And, you know, you might want to use a different tool for this, but we have a shovel right now. If this doesn't work, I'm going to use the rice knife. Oh, that works. Okay. So just kind of like loosen it. And you can pull it like so. And so with lemongrass, of course, you'll use the stalks. And so the upper portion, we can sort of just like trim off. We'll just take all of these smaller leaves and like trim them off, and like so. This is going to feed back the plant. And then we have our lemongrass stalks right here. So you would want to peel off some of the outer layers. And lemongrass will grow anywhere you don't really get frost. It does well here in the San Fernando Valley. And so you can see right here. This is just again for demonstration. Right there's the part that you use. This is not very fragrant right now for some reason. But I'd say it's more like Yeah, it's not really, doesn't really taste like much right now, interestingly. Yeah, I don't know. It might, when it gets a bit more stressed out from like the cold, it might taste better. Because, you know, when a lot of these compounds that plants produce, which we derive like flavors or medicinal benefits from, are actually defensive compounds or protective compounds. So, for example, the compounds in mint that emit the aroma are actually designed to deter, or intended to deter certain predators, right? That might want to feed on the mint, right? This is the case with many plants. These aromatic compounds may protect against insects. They may inhibit other plants that grow around the plant. This is called allelopathy. A very famous example of an allelopathic plant is actually eucalyptus. But many of our fragrant aromatic herbs also exhibit these inhibitory allelopathic properties, and they'll sort of like inhibit plants from growing around them. So yeah, that's lemongrass. I'm not sure why it doesn't smell very good right now. I think that's all the ones on our list. So yeah, lemon balm. Let's go around and talk herbs. So lemon balm you harvest the same as mint. Basically the exact same. I'm gonna put this right here. Moringa, we talked about that. Right now we're just taking off individual leaves like so. You can just kind of like peel the back. And of course this is a vegetable and an herb. You can dry it down and make it into tea, but I prefer consuming it as a vegetable. But we'll just take the leaves off. We're going to need to give this one a good trim soon. I think on Monday we're going to do a little harvest and donate it to the food pantry. But I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah, he needs it.
Or the moringa smells right now.
Yeah.
Very big tree. Let's see what else we got. So over here we have mugwort. This is our mugwort and other more shade-loving herbs bed. So this is California mugwort, our wonderful native mugwort. Very, very delicious smelling, but very, very bitter tasting. It has like an extremely like pungent, earthy aroma. I like to. It's sort of like, to me, it sort of smells like almost like a cleaning product. It smells like, you know, a hospital that's just been cleaned almost, but in a pleasant way, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of weird, but if that makes sense. So this one you would harvest the same as rosemary or lavender. This is pineapple sage. Harvest this once again the same as rosemary or lavender. This actually does have a very distinct pineapple aroma. Here we have, I think this is the Japanese mugwort, same as the California mugwort and rosemary and whatnot. And this is European mugwort. And here we have catnip trying to get a foothold. Catnip doesn't really like heat that much, so we planted it in a more shady spot. But same thing as, it's the same as mint. That's how you would harvest it. Let's see, what else do we have? Marigolds. These are going. What's this right here? I don't remember planting this. I forgot what this is. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. Smells nice though. African blue basil. So basils you would harvest in the same way as lavender or rosemary. I actually, specifically for basil, I like to take it down to where you see like some healthy new nodes, like 1 or 2 from the last node. So this is the node right here. I'll take it down to here. I'll either cut this off or I'll cut that off. So you get new growth, right? It'll encourage it to grow more and be and grow in a more bushy fashion. This is stevia right here. Harvest that in the same way you would harvest rosemary or oregano. This right here is garlic chives. You cut those to the ground, or you can just kind of like pluck them and eat them. Very garlicky.
Yeah.
Very delicious. Right here we have echinacea. I'm not sure how to harvest that. I haven't read up on it. It's kind of been going... I don't think it likes our climate. It's kind of been slow. Let's see, what else do we have? Herb-wise, we have our Mediterranean herbs. We should talk about that. So, yeah, this oregano needs to be managed. We can see that we have like a bunch of dry flower stalks. But with oregano, you can use the leaves and harvest it just like you would mint. But I actually find that the flower stalks are way more flavorful and fragrant. So just cut off the whole flower stalk and dry it like that, and then use that. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Now, so thyme, a lot like mint, you'll just take like small sections of stem, like so. That's thyme. Sage, you will harvest in the same manner as basil. This is a common garden sage right here, Salvia officinalis. I actually think that this sage is inferior to some of our native sages in terms of its flavor and adaptability and suitability to our situation. And we'll talk about the natives next. So let's head over here. So this right here is black sage. This is our most abundant native sage around the San Fernando Valley. This one you would once again harvest in the same way as lavender or rosemary. We are not going to harvest it right now, but it is incredibly fragrant and flavorful. And it has like a very distinct, almost like sarsaparilla odor to it and flavor to it, which is very unique and interesting. White sage and Cleveland sage are kind of similar. I would say black sage is more pungent. White sage is even more pungent, and then Cleveland sage is more mild and sweet. So those are 3 of our native sages that you can use for tea or for cooking. I really love to use black sage in pasta. I find it's very delicious that way. Let's see, what else? Any other herbs that we got? Yarrow. You can make yarrow into tea. So yarrow is kind of like same thing as garlic chives or any of those. I would just like cut off entire, I'm not going to do it, but cut it to like an inch above the ground basically. And yarrow can also be used as a healing poultice. So if you get a cut on your skin, take some yarrow, chew it in your mouth, put the resulting paste over your cut, and then slap a band-aid on top, and it will accelerate the healing of the wound greatly. And let's talk about ginger and turmeric then. So our ginger is over here. It's not ready to harvest right now, and I think I actually planted it in a bit too shady of a situation. But it is growing, and so you'd pretty much just uproot the entire thing, and then you have the rhizomes. Same thing with our turmeric, which is right here. I think we're going to have a fantastic turmeric harvest this year. This looks like some very healthy and vigorous turmeric. It's sending out lots of pups, so I think we're going to get a good harvest. I think it appreciates being next to the black-eyed peas. So we'll just uproot the whole thing. And this right here is yerba mate. So the yerba mate, it's a slow grower, but it really likes it here. This one, you'll when the tips are a bit more mature, you'll take the tips. You can see it's just starting to shoot out new growth right now. And yerba mate is caffeinated. I think we're also going to grow some actual tea here, Camellia sinensis, probably over there by the pigeon pea. That's where I'm thinking the best spot is. Not sure if you can plant it in the fall, but if we can, what we'll probably do is thin out the pigeon pea a little bit and plop those Camellia sinensis in there. That I believe is harvested in the same way as yerba mate too, or you can use you can hedge it basically to harvest it. Yeah, any more herbs that we've got right now?
I think that's pretty much it.
I think that's pretty much it, yeah. Mexican sage, you can, apparently it's edible too. That's that one over here. So Mexican sage. This one you just harvest in the same way as you would like rosemary or lavender. I'm not sure of any specific uses for it, but that's how you harvest it. Apparently the flowers are edible. I've tried them and they're extremely bitter. I did not like it. So let's talk about edible flowers then. We had calendula here. It's kind of sad now. So we're not going to demonstrate with calendula. Pretend that this, I think you can eat marigolds. Pretend these marigolds are calendula. So just pluck off the flower like that. I like to take it in my hand like that. Sort of like that. It's kind of like you're holding a pencil almost, and press down with my thumb and it just like snaps it right off. And that's how you harvest edible flowers. Just like so. And what else then? Not much more in the way of herbs. I mean, we have lots of goji berries right now. That's pretty cool. And these you can't eat them fresh, but oftentimes people dry them. They're kind of sweet, kind of bitter, kind of sour. reminiscent of a tomato. They are Solanaceae, tomato family after all. One more thing that we have. Vetiver grass. So this one you'll harvest in exactly the same way as lemongrass, except you'll try and pull out the roots, because the usable portion is the roots. They are very fragrant and are an ingredient in perfumes. We use vetiver grass as a mulch plant. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think we have any more herbs to talk about right now. There will be more to come, of course. We are going to be growing some chamomile over the cool season, and also establishing some perennial Roman chamomile. I think I should probably do some soil blocks of that, the Roman chamomile. Let's move back into the shade over here. And so that's like an herbal tour of the wellness garden, I suppose. Any questions about that, feel free to drop them in the chat right now, or use the Ask a Master Gardener feature on our website. Next week's subject is going to be talking about alfalfa and planting alfalfa. Why do you want to plant alfalfa? Because it's probably the best adapted green manure plant for our situation. It yields very well, it's extremely drought tolerant, and it grows very well in our soil. In fact, you can find it growing wild on Tampa Boulevard between Chatsworth and Plummer. No, Chatsworth and Plummer, yeah. So if you want to get some wild landrace alfalfa seeds, go there. I'm going to be doing that this week. And it's also not invasive here, which is very cool. I think that's because, you know, even though it can spread, it's very palatable to herbivores. So our native wildlife keeps it in check. But you can find it around here, and it's a great green manure, and we're going to sow it. We typically sow it in the fall, so we're going to be talking about how to do that on next week, on next Wednesday at 9:30. So catch us for that, and thank you for joining us today at Live in the Wellness Garden.
See you guys next week.
Have a good one, everybody. See you again soon.